to our students, and I participated at that lecture, in that classes, to listen to you.
Yes.
So
If I remember right, you were the only one that was there. You and I talked more or less in.
But Andrews was.
Well, Andrews was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So.
I understand. So, how shall we start it?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
we may start.
All right. We're going to get this.
Okay.
So we are starting our roundtable discussion on understanding of educology and the perspectives of educology in the world and in Lithuania in particular. Let me introduce our chairman, Professor James Fisher, who is the president of the Educology Research Associates. I was a professor at the South University and co-editor of the International Journal of Educology.
Co-editor.
Co-editor with me.
Yes.
It's an honor for me to be a co-editor with Jim. And let me give the word to Jim. Please,
Yep.
Jim.
Okay, guys. Here we are. And the first thing I want to do is find out something. Do you consider yourself as an educologist?
I suppose I can think this way about myself.
You can.
I can. In my understanding, yeah.
With the understanding we have, the answer is yes, you can consider yourself as an educologist.
Yeah.
That is a completely new term to me.
Yes,
I am.
That's
It's
good.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I've not heard it before.
All right. Well, you're going to become the person with whom I'm going to experiment a little bit more.
Okay.
Because you have heard the word and even seen the word.
I have.
Yes. And I'm going to start my experiment with you then, if you would. Excuse me just a minute.
Okay.
You've heard the word educology.
I have.
And you've seen the word, right?
Yes.
Have you ever written the word?
No.
No. Well, let me ask, this is a psycho question. When you see and hear the word educology, what do you think? What is the effect of the word on your thinking?
Do you want my true answer?
No, I want you to lie to me.
Okay. Yeah, this might sting a little bit. I tend to think the term educology is pretentious.
Yes, I understand.
And I'm not sure of the use of the term when
Yes.
education has worked perfectly well for 5,000 years.
The word education has functioned well for 5,000 years. I got you. I'm with you.
And so, and I wonder if it's part of the trend to make things sound more sciencey.
Oh, gotcha. I'm with you. I understand the psychology of that.
And I don't necessarily understand why there needs to be a term use.
Yeah, I understand. You're professing honestly. She is a professor of truth today. Do you hear what she's saying? I understand and accept and appreciate that a lot, because I understand that and accept that. And now then, but see, you are here. You're a Lithuanian, and you become aware of the word educology. Do you remember when you saw and or heard the word educology? Can you go back in time and tell me about when did that happen to you?
I suppose it was 20 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah, because I was a student of Vilnius University of Lithuanian language, philology, at that department, and me and my colleague discussed what we're going to do with our knowledge. So, and we discussed, discovered that we are interested in going to school to teach,
Okay.
and we have no knowledge about teaching.
Yes.
So
All right.
where we can find that knowledge is.
All right.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, because language is language and
Yeah.
method and so on. We have no and we discussed the possibility to learn master courses
Yeah.
at Vilnius University,
Yeah.
and there at the philosophy, at the Department of Philosophy,
Yeah.
there was the Department of Educology.
I see.
So
There were two departments?
no, cathedral. So Department of Philosophy.
That's the Department of
So kind of the
Philosophy.
School of Philosophy,
Oh, the-
and then within it, there was a department.
There was a part or department in the School of Philosophy,
Yeah.
and the name of that was Educology.
Yeah.
And what year that was in about 1998 or so?
Yeah. It was 20 years ago. So,
I see, all right, well, that was your introduction
Yeah.
to the word educology.
So yeah, I felt similar.
Critique.
While you were so I did had the word pedagogy.
Yes, pedagogy.
Yeah, I'm going to be pedagogue
Yeah.
to teach children.
Yeah.
So while you were, so there are differences
Yeah.
and so on. And the explanation, I suppose, we had from our teachers
Yeah,
was said that pedagogy,
yes,
the term pedagogy deals
Yes.
with children.
it means knowledge about how to teach children.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
But
what
so-
pedagogy means,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And but this is wider, so it compose adult pedagogy and so on,
Yeah.
and we have another world
Yes,
for this
broader,
broad.
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's educology, and okay,
Sure.
it become quite clear for me.
Well, good.
So
So the word pedagogy has been entrenched in the language in the world for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And it means literally knowledge about how to teach children. And hence there were supposed to be people who got knowledge about how to teach children. And they would be called, that knowledge would be called pedagogy. True?
yeah.
But you became aware that the word educology isn't limited to just knowledge about how to teach children. It opens up knowledge of how to teach adults, in school or out. It's knowledge about how to teach older people, whatever, right? So it's broader.
Yeah.
Is that the way you understand the
Yeah.
word?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still think it's pretentious?
I suppose yes. It's
Well,
Just elitist.
yeah. I
Pretentious,
suppose-
elitist? Is that the word you used? Elitist?
Well, I used pretentious.
You did, but you also used another word, linguist. You study language, so you're aware of what words you're using.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would also say elitist. I'm looking for my phone to come up with adjectives for it, but
Another adjective other than elitist and pretentiousness.
yeah,
Okay, well, she's gonna consult
at least
electronic devices here.
And
translate.
Yeah,
you said earlier that how to teach, but I suppose that it's broader and it's kind of not only how to teach but how to learn as well. So,
well, let's hold it on that, huh? Yes, as I'll just pare it back. We need knowledge of how to teach somebody something, right?
Yeah.
But we also need knowledge about how somebody learns.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So
Uh-huh.
that's two parts. as
Yes.
well.
Yes, there are
Yes.
two things.
Yeah, yeah.
But are those two things already in pedagogy? Those two things are in pedagogy also, but the only thing that limits pedagogy is the age level, children. That's the word literally means that. Okay, well, so we're working with the ambiguity of the meaning of the word educology. It's sufficiently ambiguous, the meaning, such that you're going to form opinions, etc. So the meaning of it hasn't been well established in any culture yet. Hence, anybody that preaks it up, they just say, well, that's just more lingo. I understand that and I appreciate that. Now then, I want to turn to my good friend here and see what he can help us out with.
Thanks. Actually, my first encounter with educology was a little bit earlier, in '95, when I was invited to join doctoral studies in educology. And my first question, of course, was, what is that?
Sure.
Because it was new for me, because I was used to the term of pedagogy.
Yes.
Pedagogics,
Yes.
pedagogy.
Yes.
And ecology was new. And actually, when I was told that it simply it's a substitute for pedagogy,
Okay.
and I was not so curious to figure out everything about that.
Okay.
But later I learned what happened after 90s when Lithuania liberated from the Soviet Union and established its own state. It means that Lithuanian government and the Academy of Sciences, so it's a kind of scientific senate in our country, they became the owners of the scientific structure of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we wanted to reform it. First, what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
they decided to cancel some semi-scientific subjects like scientific Marxism, dialectic materialism.
Yes.
These things were mandatory. They were common in all universities.
Yes.
And they were considered the top
Yes.
disciplines.
Yes.
So all the students had to pass
Yes.
those things.
Yes.
And they were eliminated.
Yes.
When eliminated, then they had short budget, and I think I guess that I can understand that they wanted to optimize
Yeah.
their scientific field
Yeah.
to accumulate money for some branches, but because they were short of money, they thought they tried to make a new classification of sciences.
Yeah.
And by the way, they got an idea to eliminate pedagogy.
Yeah.
There was an idea
Yeah.
that pedagogy is not equal science to physics,
Yeah.
to chemistry,
Yeah.
to biology,
About anthropology or
whatever.
archaeology or all those social sciences.
And there was an idea to put pedagogy
Yeah.
under applied psychology.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that means that traditions, many decades of traditions of developing science, of education in Lithuania will be cut.
Yeah.
And the professors and faculties will be closed.
Mhm.
They will save some money, and they just that would be now. Various considerations could be here, or perhaps it could be a conscious attempt to weaken education in Lithuania in general. By that means, but the formal reason was stating that pedagogy is not an equal science,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to be eliminated, or perhaps put in a lower position as a auxiliary.
Mhm.
Let's say in some faculties they would prepare teachers, but the basis of education would be psychology.
Yeah.
And
Now,
then-
excuse me, see, the basis of education, or the study of education, was going to be a science called psychology. I'm mentioning now, I'm just rephrasing, because see how important, at that time still, psychology was a
Looks
fairly
something
new
like
thing,
that.
50 years or so.
Actually,
So
we're
it
too
was-
young. We're not experts.
Yeah.
A man who was the key important thing was Professor Leonis Jovaiša. He's famous.
Have you heard of his
professor.
name? That
Yeah.
Sure.
I read his books of them, yeah.
And Professor
Psychologist.
Daunas Jovaiša, well, a psychologist himself,
Yeah.
but he was, his field of research was education and what we call in German Bildung,
yeah.
or raising up personality.
Yes.
So he was very strong in that. And he said that psychology is not enough.
Yeah.
That science of education must exist as a separate, specific science with a specific scopus,
Yeah.
specific knowledge. And he suggested to call the science educology.
Yes.
And he said, well, as we know, did he come? Did he read it somewhere, or he speculated himself that this science should be called educology? Well, it's not so important now, but he was the first man who suggested to use, to introduce an official name of the science of education as educology. And in Lithuania, that idea was supported. He was supported,
Yeah.
and the government also approved it.
Yeah.
And it was it was a part of reforming science in Lithuania.
Yeah.
And we got a new.
You say it was or was not a part of reforming?
It was, because the reform took a long period.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not over.
No, it's not over. Yeah.
There was some discussion. But it was one of the new things after Lithuania got its independence.
Yes. And that occurred in 1991.
So they introduced the studies, educology studies in the universities, in the colleges, and first, second, and third level in the universities.
Yeah.
The third level means doctoral studies.
Oh, okay.
And they got doctoral studies in educology confirmed.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and so with Grażyna, we are doctoral students.
Yes.
We received officially, we received the certificates that
Yeah.
we are doctors of science of educology.
Yes, so the word educology shows on your diploma.
Yes.
And yours
social
too?
sciences.
Yeah.
Social sciences educology. It's in our official classification.
Yes. Okay, so the history that he alluded to, you already knew, you're familiar with that. Is that true?
Yeah.
Now, the American over here, you're not familiar with what he just said.
No,
Is that
and I
correct?
would like to know what the criteria was for determining that pedagogy is not a real science. I mean, the nature of education has to have a scientific background to it, though it's not it's not a true science. It probably is more social science. But there is data. You have to do quantifiable research with your students, with your practices, to come up with best practices. And so why do we determine that education, that pedagogy is not? And my education courses in the United States have always included a psychological aspect. I mean, I almost have a minor in psychology because of the amount of psychology courses I take.
Okay, you understand the question.
It was not about denial of the value of pedagogy, but pedagogy was treated as a part of the body of knowledge about education, because there is andragogy, so education of adult persons, and lifelong education. And considering all that, they needed a new term. And then pedagogy became just a part of.
Okay, so going back to the traditional the traditional linguistic view, that it's only children. Except, I guess, in the United States, we generally consider it the term pedagogy, which is larger, not just children.
Yeah.
We have used the meaning of the word pedagogy in the United States and broadened it, to include not only study to get knowledge about how to educate children, but we all began to think adults, you know, and even pigeons, you know, pretty soon.
Right.
But so there's the answer to your question here that I understood it. You see why we brought in the word educology? Well, it happened in this country. That's why it was brought in, right? Because pedagogy was too small, meaning the broad wasn't broad enough. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah. And are we meeting anywhere near your feeling of elitism or pretentiousness? No, not yet.
I mean, I've kind of had these feelings for 5 years since you first talked to me about it at our first faculty meeting.
We got a history of feeling.
So I've been wrestling with this term for 5 years.
Well, you're not opposed with wrestling with it a little bit more?
I'm not,
okay.
no.
All right, now we can go back then. Yeah, mine's Jim.
I've heard about you.
Well, thank you.
And great to meet you here.
Nice to meet you.
I don't know if she wants to be recorded. Or
Do you
not.
want to be
No,
recorded?
no, it's better for me not.
It's okay?
Not recorded, my picture, or I don't know.
No picture or yes picture?
Yeah, no,
No picture.
yeah, please.
No picture. All right.
Thank you, thanks.
All right, so we'll give him time to
Thank you,
adjust that.
sorry for this.
But the voice is going to get caught.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
beautiful sight will not get caught. Okay. Okay, all right, so let me quickly catch you up.
You're very kind.
So we began the discussion here, and my name is Jim, and I consider myself an educologist. I consider myself mostly, though, a philosopher of educology. And my main interest is, what is this knowledge? The philosophy always interested is, what is knowledge? That's epistemology. So I've been wondering, what is this knowledge about education that is educology? So that's where I'm a philosopher and deal directly on that. That's what I'm up to. But here I'm interested in what this lady and you, when you first heard the word or saw the word educology.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Honestly, this is one of my field of interest, and I am studying it in the doctoral study. That is why I'm interested.
And you're doing
in
a doctorate degree in educology
education, yeah.
here at Nicholas Ramirez University.
Yeah, it is a joint, how can I say, connected universities, Kaunas, Klaipėda, Lithuania, and one Portuguese university. So this is my field of interest. That's why I am so happy to be here.
Well, it's a field of interest. See, she's interested, but she's skeptical. You're interested and not as skeptical, but you're still trying to figure out what it is. Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, and then, of course, she's doing a doctorate degree, so she got this all figured out well. But let me ask you this. Do you guys know each other?
Yes, of course.
But do you know this
Very
guy?
well, yes.
Okay.
He
Have you had her
advised
as a
me.
student?
He's good. She's good friend. All of them good friends.
Yes.
Mine, yeah.
Okay, well, see, you came in and Andreas was explaining in my language the history of the word educology as it got into Lithuania and into the universities here, where the word educology began to be used to name faculty of educology, departments of educology, courses in educology, books in it. The word educology has really become integral to the culture of Lithuania. Now then, it's not integral to the culture in any other place in the world. I'm asserting that to see what you say or think about that.
Yeah, I think it's the most important factor in any community. I think even a smaller community, education is the first, and so it's involved in actually Lithuanian community as well.
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of it and then turn back here, but the word educology has been adopted in Lithuania.
Oh, change, yeah.
Like, what, 1992 or 3 or 91?
Yes.
Right, during the transition from Soviet to democracy kind of thing. So the word educology has become entrenched in the language of universities here.
I would explain that in the way that it's actually a national term of science of education. You know that, let's say, a computer. in most countries they use the international term of computer. But in French, let's say, they do not. They call it in a national. They use a national term. Why not? So in every country, people have rights to call things in their way. So we use the same root for the word. Educare, to educate, to teach. Actually, you know, in Lithuania, why they switched to a new term? They wanted to be progressive because they reflected. They wanted to emphasize a new attitude, new approach to education in general. That in Soviet period here, the totalitarian regime, let's say, the pedagogy was based on the idea that wise and experienced teachers, they give knowledge to the young generation, so they teach. And now our professors wanted to emphasize the idea that students are learning. So it's a process. It's not only the process of teaching, of giving knowledge to somebody, but the students are active themselves, and it's also very important. So how all these processes, how are going, what is the synthesis or syncretic process of all these processes? So they wanted to emphasize that. And also it was a step in methodological aspect.
In the what? Logical?
Methodological. Methodology was different. We finished the period of dogmatic Marxist methodology, which it was a system. It was a system of methodology. We had Marxist methodology. It was basis on everything, and every science could be condemned, and scientists degraded, or I mean, well, in Soviet Union we had cases when some branches of science were forbidden because they did not match with the Marxist methodology. So it's related, in essence, I'd say, to the open-minded relationship with the object. So we started again from new positions. And in Lithuania, really, it was from new positions. Let's say religious education was absolutely impossible in Soviet area. Religion was not allowed to the schools. Absolutely, absolutely. And after 91, after 90s, actually we introduced classes of religion to the schools. That was a revolution. I think you can hardly imagine that, how much revolutionary it was in Lithuania. It was a revolution. Priests in the school, it's like a devil in the church. I don't know what to say, but our students were surprised. I was a student then, and actually I remember that our parents would say they would instruct us when we were kindergarten age and then going to the primary school. Our parents would instruct us never speak about religion with your friends in the kindergarten, in the school. No, it's don't. It was actually teachers were supposed to be a kind of spies, to collect information about religious families and to register them. And that was dangerous. Parents could lose their jobs because they are religious. So actually it was a very strict realization of the separation of school and church. They were absolutely separate.
I understand. So he kind of outlined for we Americans what happened here in Lithuania and the psychosocial effect of the word educology to try to cause something. Where the word education, I wanted to hold there.
Right.
The word education, however it was in Lithuania, the word education, I'm assuming, was in the language but it was under the Soviet Union, or dialectical materialism, Marxism, as a method of science. True?
Yes.
Yes, sure. Now, that was all the doctrine. All right, but the point I'm trying to make here is then the word education was actually used as a synonym for indoctrination.
Yeah. Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah. The word education didn't imply open freedom to think and to think about and act. No, it was indoctrination.
Actually,
But the word education had that connotation, did it not?
Jim,
Yeah.
let me say that Soviet science of education wasn't primitive. It wasn't primitive.
Wasn't primitive.
It wasn't primitive.
Okay.
It wasn't simplistic. They had theory. They had, of course, they were studying history of pedagogy.
Yes.
They were considering various ways approaching students.
Yes.
And they had great Soviet pedagogues.
Yes.
Who were brilliant persons,
Sure.
and they developed their theory how to approach, let's say, difficult teens,
Yes.
what we call delinquent personalities.
Yes.
In
Right.
English, you use term of delinquent.
Yes.
Delinquent.
Delinquent.
Yeah, those
Delinquent, yeah.
who may commit crimes.
Yeah.
Delinquents.
Yes.
How they control them.
Yeah.
So they had the science. They had the science, and it was not simplistic. It was
But you're
strong enough.
bringing in, using the word simplistic here. I understand and accept how you're
It was
using
not. It never was a simple indoctrination. So if we compare it with indoctrination, it could be, I'd say, in some symbolic sense.
Okay, well, let's let it be symbolic then.
Yeah.
All right, but did the word education symbolically indoctrination, not literally, but is the word education as we use it in this now, how's the word education being used now in Lithuania? The word education, not
Actually,
educology, but the word.
Jim, actually, in Soviet period, they had the final goal of raising up a Soviet citizen.
Sure.
Soviet citizen.
Yes.
Who was who would be intrinsic materialist.
Yes.
That was the goal.
Yes.
But many educators
Yes.
would neglect that.
Okay.
Or
Well, I'm happy to
officially,
know that.
they were raising
Yeah.
communist personality,
Oh.
but in reality, they were using humanistic approach.
Well, that's a good point. I thank you for that. That informed me something that I'd assumed and didn't understand. Because if I understand right, the people who were trying to educate the children,
Yeah.
they understood that their duty as teachers was more like humanism, or
Yeah.
being human, rather than becoming Marxists or communists. And that was inherent right in the people.
And
Yeah, okay.
after 90s,
Yeah.
we got a kind of vacuum in this sense, because we could not switch to raising up a Christian. No,
Yeah.
because the society is rather secular or
Yeah, secular,
or-
yeah,
or
yeah.
different. People
Yeah.
are different, and also there couldn't be like a generalized goal, aim
Yeah.
to raise, let's say, nationalist person. No, or liberal
Okay.
persons.
Yeah.
Also, not really.
Not
So,
what?
Not really. Well,
Not really. Okay.
we had an aim to educate liberal personalities.
Yeah.
Never. Some educators would say, well, liberalism, that's an appropriate form, or liberal democracy, what we are going to. But so they had discussions on
Yeah.
that base.
I understand and appreciate that a lot. You've informed me of something I didn't know about the psychology or sociology or philosophy of the teacher, even under Marxism, the teachers themselves they were trying to do more, they were trying to be more humanistic. Is that the assertion you're making?
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's assume that's,
Well, we may make a distinction that actually, in general,
yeah.
Soviet pedagogy was oriented towards collective society,
Yeah.
collectivism. They
Yeah.
were seeking collectivism.
Yeah.
While a new paradigm led to individualism.
Individualism, collectivism.
Yeah.
That's the word you've introduced now, individualism and the word collectivism, and then the contrast between them.
But
Yeah.
I would discuss if that was done on purpose. It was in fact, what we got, that we got kind of atomization, as we call, of the society. And so individualism, in fact, in practice, it became the basic paradigm.
De facto, in fact, it became that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in 1991 would be evidence that it was starting to work then. Because that was when the revolution or the change came. Yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate that. And may I turn to the doctorate here? You're a doctoral student?
Yeah, I'm a student.
You're a student.
Yeah, just
Well,
a
hell, we're all
student.
students. Yeah. We're just doing postdoctoral studies here. You heard the professor speak.
Yeah, interesting for me. Yeah.
What?
Interesting for me because
Interesting.
I wasn't in the communism culture,
Yeah.
or it's new. I get to.
Yeah, you
the
did.
post.
You were not. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not Lithuanian.
What are
I'm
you?
originally Persian.
Where?
Persian.
Persian?
Yeah.
Okay, when did you come to Lithuania?
4 years ago.
4
I'm
years
living here
ago.
continuously. 4 years, I get familiar with post-effect
I
of
see.
communism. So it's interesting for me about education that they said they believe that it should be connected to each other. I personally believe in humanistic view,
Yes.
always in anything. An individual, okay, is nice
Yes.
to consider different
Yes.
views, different variables of each person. So
Yes.
I consider him to be human. It's my
Yes.
feeling.
Yeah, we don't want to be dogs, we want to be humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Consider that.
And my attempt at being humorous here. Yeah, all right. Well, so you came here a few years ago.
Yeah.
And you are now into the doctoral program in educology. And then that's when you came here and learned the word educology. And you heard the history the professor made here. Had you heard that history of that word before?
Generally, I studied, not in that exact part, but
Yeah.
generally I knew about communism and so
Yeah.
affects in everything, especially education, but this one was more
You've kind of been introduced to the
general
history that he
introduction
gave
to
there.
everything, yes.
Yeah.
We had a course in that regard to consider every,
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
What was the name of that course? Do you remember?
exactly not, it related to different, how can I say, positivism, post-positivism, constructivism.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and also this, so I had the
Well, that's a
general-
philosophy of educology course in my
Yeah,
mind.
something like
Yeah.
this, something like this, because different names, so I
Well,
cannot-
sure. But
yeah.
you're looking at the big pictures here of various forms of knowledge, positivism, constructivism, empiricism, rationalism, all those words got introduced to your vocabulary in that course? Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that and appreciate that. And now, I want to just briefly allude to how the word educology in the United States got invented. The word, it had to be, it was invented, that is, coined in the United States in the 50s, in 1950. So in 1950 is when the word educology was invented in the United States. And it was invented by a professor of education in a university in the United States. And it was invented by this professor as a term that they used in a humorous way. It was be humorous. What's humorous about it was that they, as professors of education, as I professed knowledge about education and always understood, hell, I didn't know what I was talking about. I was professing things that I wasn't really sure was knowledge. You get the psychology here? Well, I mention that because back in the 50s, these old boys figured this out, but he invented the word educology to mean knowledge, not just scientific knowledge, but all knowledge about education. So in the 50s is when that word was invented. All right, in the 60s then is when I got into it by another professor at another university. So I alluded to that history because in the 50s that word was invented in the United States, and as far as I know, it was the first time it was invented in the world. Maybe, maybe not, but my assumption is that's where the dang word came in, at the very first. But here in Lithuania, the professor that you were referring to was predominantly a psychologist that was trying to do learning theory and teaching theory and needing a word for it. Do you have a clue? Did he invent the word for himself, or did he know the word from, like it was already invented in the 50s? You have a clue on that?
We still need to investigate that.
I see.
But he was first to suggest it here.
Yeah, be the first here.
So
Yeah.
in our textbooks, they say that he's the first to introduce the term of educology. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm not here to quibble who came first, the chicken or the egg thing, but I am interested in this problem of the word educology because about 10 years ago, after me doing a lot of work in educology and philosophy of educology, I got a letter in the mail from a lawyer in New York City telling me for his client in New York City who has started a business, I got a letter from that lawyer telling me to cease and desist using the word educology. I was, did I ever told you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I got a letter from a lawyer telling me as an educologist, or, you know, like telling a physicist to stop using the word physics because I've got a, you know, I've got a patent on the word. Well, I have a son who's a lawyer in DC, and so I shifted that all to him, and he took care of that. So I didn't cease and desist. But see, why I'm bringing this up is, you see, because there's the underlying assumption in his directive to me is that the word educology is like the word Pepsi-Cola. It's something that can be marketed for business purposes, like Coca-Cola or Ford. You get the idea? But
it's a brand's name.
Huh? A brand.
That it's a brand's name.
Yeah, it's not like the word physics and chemistry and other words that you don't brand those things. All right, so it was done, and I was being told to stop that because some business guy wanted to keep the word separate for him. Okay, well, it's a joke, you know. I just waited and nobody ever came to it. All right, so there was a fight over a word going on there without the old boy even figuring it, didn't know the importance of it. Okay, now, so, I'm going to turn to my good friend here because I did a little history of educology in the United States, starting in around 50, which was invented by Professor Harding at a university, and why he did it, etc. And then I alluded to the fact that I was told to stop using the word educology. Now then, with my good friend here, the word educology literally means, does it not, knowledge. That's the ology about education. That's educa. So educology literally means knowledge about education. We could accept that. Now then, to my good friend here, does the word knowledge refer to and only refer to scientific knowledge?
Probably not.
Let's take the word probably out and say no, right?
Yeah.
Now then, our relationship has always been where as I understood, you took the word educology to always refer to scientific or science of education, scientific knowledge of education. But I've been perplexed all this time because, you know, whether you really think that there's only one kind of knowledge and that's scientific. So probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, may I work with the probability here, the probable, with my good friend professors here. All right, so if scientific knowledge is not the only kind of knowledge that we can talk about, what other kind of knowledge is there that we have words that we can talk about? That's my question to one professor to another, wondering what is knowledge, etc. What other kind of knowledge is there?
It's a tough question.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is a tough question. I'm interested to see how you're going to handle a tough question.
Kind of it's a question of the experience. And knowledge comes from our experience, but in the philosophical sense, you can never be certain.
Well,
you can never be certain. Also, well, it's easier to define what is the scientific knowledge.
Okay,
It's based on facts, and you can repeat something.
Yes.
You know that
yes.
what will be the outcome of
Yes.
your actions.
Yes.
But still, there is no absolute difference between your imagination or expectations and the reality, because as philosophers say, do you think that, okay, the sun is rising every morning, but can you be absolutely certain that next morning the sun will raise up?
Well, you're asking a good rhetorical question, and the answer I'm going to give
thousands years ago.
Well, certainly, the rest of you be patient.
Absolutely
We're going to get there. But the answer is no. You can't be absolutely certain that the sun's going to come up. That's the right answer to that question, right? But why is it the right answer?
But still, these are philosophical cases, and it's perhaps, well, we in our daily experience, usually we are doing it in a simpler way, not looking for absolute certainty. So
Looking for it. Okay, I hear and understand that. And now, if you'll be patient with me now, because we're having a conversation that he and I've never had before, and in this degree. But let me ask you this. You asked the question, can we be certain whether the sun's going to come up or not? All right, and the answer is no. And why? Well, because it could be the case that it didn't come up. All right, but now what about 2 + 2 = 4? Can you be absolutely certain that 2 + 2 = 4?
Also not, of course, in the new mathematics, they may doubt everything, and nothing is precise. There are always some tolerance in the result. So, but I think that's not the point in the education. But you see, you went from education. I was trying to talk about knowledge. And you slipped away from me a little bit. You're trying to slip now. But the word education is there, but I'm trying to talk about knowledge, about whether it's education or about physical things or about psycho things or anything, but knowledge itself. I would assume that in the science of education or educology, we need also an aspect of faith is included. Because we believe that this child will grow up to a good woman or man, a good human.
Yeah.
And we believe perhaps the objective data, there are some facts in his or her life which contradict that vision, that we still believe. We must be optimists. So perhaps sometimes we need to neglect some real facts and try to do. We still are trying to get the result, and it's a process of creation somehow. It's a project, because a project to the future.
Yeah.
We can never be certain about the result,
Mhm.
but we don't care that. We do our best.
Well, we do the
We are
best
looking
with
for the best
probability.
method.
Yeah.
We're doing our best.
Mhm.
We are organizing our time, because we are limited in time, in our resources,
Yeah.
in funds. All the circumstances come together, so it makes it very complex.
It is a complex, and this is a complex question we're working with here.
Mhm.
A highly complex question of what is knowledge.
Mhm.
And that's a philosophical question that we're trying to circumvent
Yeah.
around here. But then knowledge about cups or education or people, there's whatever the object of the knowledge is, that's another thing. But what is knowledge itself about all of that stuff? So that, the knowledge about the sun, et cetera. And then I introduced the knowledge about numbers, the knowledge about 2 + 2 = 4 kind of thing. And you even introduced in your discussion here that you can't even be certain about that. 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah.
Remember? You
Yeah.
introduced a degree of uncertainty in there, as well as we can't be certain about whether the sun's going to come up or not. Now then, I would be interested in how do you say more about that? You can't be certain that 2 + 2 = 4.
Well,
That's mathematics, and
we could doubt the fundamental, the initial conditions that there are exact numbers.
yeah.
Well, in math, there's also discussion if null exists.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's a nonsense. How can you get a null of some material? Let's say null of
The
air,
null or the
or
null?
null of air, or perhaps there are some
Mhm.
atoms. So, but it's null is an abstraction.
The word null, N-U-L-L.
It's an abstraction.
That means, yeah, well,
It's
the
an
word
abstract-
isn't that. It refers to something that's
You need
abstract.
imagination. to
Well, we
imagine,
need that,
because
yes.
you can't see it, you can't touch it.
You can't see, hear, smell,
can't-
touch, or
You
taste.
can't experience it.
Well, now, hold
But-
on just a minute.
Mhm.
There's where I want to get this, because you brought up positivism. You remember the word positivism that you had alluded to earlier?
Pardon?
Positivism,
Yes.
in that course you had, that was one word you remembered and uttered here in front of us all.
Yeah.
Positivism.
Yeah.
All right, to be positive about something. And the question here then is see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. See, hear, smell, touch, and taste. Is that what you consider the limits of experience?
What do you think?
Are you a materialist?
Wait a minute,
He was asking me what I think.
About what?
But the question is directed towards you. About, you're basically asking him if he is a materialist.
No, I'm not. You're inferring that.
Okay.
You're interpreting it that way, because I know the word materialism and how it's worked as a doctrine, in the whole ethics of life, that we're materialists and hedonists, et cetera, et cetera. So my intention is not that.
Okay.
But now with that profession or confession, let me ask you this. Dan, do you, as we sat here thinking about it, do you reduce the word experience to see, hear, smell, touch, and tasting?
5%.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, what else? What other kind of experience is there than that, other than see, hear, smell, touch, or taste physical things, the sun or cups or atoms? What else is there?
Well, as a Christian, I believe that there are other realms that we don't have comprehension of.
Well, that's a metaphysical realm.
And that's a metaphysical, so I guess maybe
What
then-
can you experience, see, hear, smell, touch, or taste that?
No.
No. Okay, then do you experience it? Well, that home, that's a good thing. Well, we gotta get, you got some
Yeah,
help over here.
see?
Pat,
See?
what he's
Hey.
doing is patting his chest.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean,
heart.
Well, and it's even the idea of, that, the psychological concept of, you know, there's a mind,
There is,
and then there's the brain.
okay.
There is, you know, the actual physical heart, but then there's a soul.
Oh,
And so, yeah, he's getting prompted.
well, he's a good man. He's
And
trying to help you
and
out.
so the idea of, you know, do you experience the soul? I mean, and concepts like love is, you know, that's an abstract, and even going back to.
What is abstract? The soul or the love, is that
soul
abstract?
and love, that would kind of be abstract, because you can't
Okay.
see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't taste
It's
it.
not physical.
It's not physical. And so then there would have to be other experiences beyond.
I agree, there would have to be. I would agree with that, and hold with me now.
Now, scientifically, is that provable? No. I mean, I'm also a big believer in string theory.
String theory.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, I'm
the
with you.
physical idea that there are, you know, these little tiny connections
Yeah.
among all of us and everything in the universe that kind of holds it together.
Okay.
So you
Well,
can't see those, and you know, the idea of quarks, those are still technically imaginary, but it's
Yeah.
still part of our makeup of the
Notice the
universe.
language, the body language you're working on, you know, and I intentionally try to conserve my body movements a little bit when we're talking about quote unquote abstract things,
Mhm.
because we start bringing body into it, and then we see the body moving around, and then that pretty soon we've got a concrete because we're watching our body around.
Well, I
Even,
just,
all right, that's my little professorial rejoinder there.
yeah,
But while I'm still on this subject a little bit, because what I'm trying to push you around to is, if there is some kind of experience other than seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting, those are the five senses. See, hear, smell, touch, and I don't mean feeling, I mean touch, physical
Mhm.
things, and see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. Yes? All right, now then, let me ask you then this. Coming back to his definition of science, the word science means it's based on experience, and you can replicate your actions, your experiences. That you understand that well enough to understand basically that's the norm, the definition of science as we know it.
yes,
All right, so now the definition of science, the way, if we just take that definition, does it or does it not, that definition imply or entail that what is experienceable is something that can be seen, heard, smelled, touched, or tasted?
yes,
It does do that, does it not?
yes,
And of course, the word replicate, or to do again something that scientist did, and we can replicate that, but it all comes back to whatever we do to reduce whatever it is we're going to study and look at, it has to be something physical. And that means, see, here's, if we use the word experience, it means something to be seen, heard, smelled, touched, or tasted. And now we've got the body here. Am I interpreting, well, you kind of know what science is?
yes.
Is that what science is?
Yeah,
Kind of like that?
Yeah.
Am I talking to you, doctoral student here? Huh?
yes.
Hold on. What about my professor friend here? I want to say what he's going to hear what he's going to say.
I agree.
So far, so
I
good.
don't want to complicate it. Yeah, I agree.
You what?
I don't want to complicate it.
You know, a philosopher is
We're
involved.
inquirers here. We're professors, but if we don't complicate that, well, I'll see you later.
You know, Andres is a philosopher, so there's,
Well, my job is being philosophical, and I do that, so hence I want to complicate things and then get them uncomplicated if we can. All right, but I'm going to assume that among us, that we are all sufficiently educated through schools, mostly school education, to understand that science basically is to study something that exists physically, not metaphysically, right? I'm intentionally bringing that word in here. All right, so it's something physically, and by definition, what we mean by something physically is to exist. It's something that can be seen, heard, smelled, touched, and or tasted. And then we study that by replicating it. You do it, I do it, and it's knowledge about that physical thing. Even a string. Because the theoretical physicists postulate strings that make up atoms and quarks. Yes, you understand all that?
Yes.
Well, but do you assume then that there is able to be seen, heard, smelled, touched, or tasted, either with not, but with devices, electronic devices, the hydrogen generator, you know, to explode things, right? Do you assume then that that string exists physically?
Theoretically, it should.
Well, let's assume theoretically it should. Then by theoretically shouldness, according to our meaning here, then it should be able to be seen, heard, smelled, touched, or tasted.
Yes.
If not by the naked eye, but some kind of an electronic device.
Yes.
That we call these big atom smashers.
Yes.
That we can see all those little things, right, and record it on a camera and say, see it, right there it is. Do you assume, don't we all, that you brought the word string theory in here, we assume that's all the case?
Yes.
Don't you and I?
Yes.
I do too. But that's still assuming that it exists physically. Now, right?
Okay.
With that done, then, does anything exist other than physical things? So science is dedicated to physical things, the very small and the very big, the universe, you know, all the astronomy and the cosmology of our day, the bang theory, the Big Bang theory, et cetera, et cetera. Am I using words you... See, we assume the very big things and the little small things in physics. And, well, is that all there is, honey? Just physical things?
The way you've described it, it seems like that's the only solution.
Well, the way I described it, but that's my description. I'll turn it over to you to complicate this. Do you believe, as you're sitting there as a human being, that the only kind of existence that is physical? Or do you think there's some other kind of existences?
I'd say that, okay, there are, well, we know a lot about attitudes or perceptions of many philosophers.
Attitudes?
Let's say Aristotle, well, you know what Plato taught. Also Aristotle, he, in his model, there is physical reality.
Who are you talking, Plato?
Plato.
Now I'm talking about Aristotle's position.
The who?
Aristotle.
T-O-T-A-L?
Aristotle.
Oh, Aristotle. Pardon, simple thing.
He also,
Aristotle.
He also taught about two realms, actually.
Yes.
Physical and metaphysical.
Yes, he did.
Metaphysical
Yeah.
is the realm that is created by rational beings.
Rational thought.
Rational, not the intellectual beings. So God or humans, they have intellect and they create things.
Yeah.
So let's say arts, beauty,
Yeah.
architecture, laws, these are metaphysical things in this, following Aristotle, because they're created by rational beings.
Human beings.
Those are not natural phenomena.
Okay, I hear and understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's his attitude, and there are a variety of other.
There are. I understand that. And the allusion to Aristotle and others, you know, I understand and accept that. And I'm not going to complicate that right now, because she was getting, your body indicated, what is it you're going to say?
Because my question, because then my thought is, you know, you started the discussion with attitudes. And so even if we consider our attitudes towards something as maybe unexperiential, is it really? Because my attitude towards broccoli is based on my actual experience with broccoli.
It's based on that.
It's based on that. And so then my attitude still has sort of a real world experiential issue.
I'm ready. You're talking to the choir now. I hear and understand that, because she said the word attitude, as you're using it, the word attitude itself, does it refer to something physical?
Yes.
Oh. The word attitude refers to something physical, the way,
I think it would.
well, I believe you have that
A
thought.
perception, a belief.
Because it's based on experience.
Well, it's
Because it's
based on
based on experience.
seeing, hearing, smelling, and touching. What was it, your attitude toward, what did you point?
Broccoli.
Broccoli. The word broccoli, does it refer to something physical?
Yes.
All right, and your experience with that physical thing, broccoli, isn't it a see, hear, smell, touch, and then taste?
Yes.
The physical thing.
Yes.
So it goes through these portals
Yes.
and into you, wherever it goes.
Yes.
But it is still a physical thing.
Yes.
And then it's coming through into you.
Yes.
And then, now, is your attitude identical to the broccoli?
No, it is not.
No. Is your attitude identical to, I'm using the word identity in an Aristotelian way here now. Is your attitude toward your see, hear, smell, touch, and taste of broccoli, is your attitude the same as the seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting? Are they identical?
They are not
No,
identical.
they're not. I agree. I know myself well enough, and Socrates said, know yourself. I know myself well. It ain't, is it?
Mhm.
But did you notice what you were trying to do before I caught you? Do you understand that you were trying to get identity there? Do you understand that?
Yes.
You're not angry at me, are you?
No.
Dude, I'm not at you either. All right, but you were, slipping into that tendency to begin talk as if they were. Now then, philosophically, what's happening there is you're beginning to equate something that's identical to cause effect. That caused your attitude, right, about the broccoli, the broccoli, and your experience of the broccoli, see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, that caused your attitude. Is that true?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
But something that caused your attitude, is it identical to your attitude? And the answer is going to be no. It's not identical.
Right.
All right, so ergo, therefore, is your attitude physical?
No.
Not now, is it? If you think about that, no. And is your attitude something that you can, even you, see, hear, smell, touch, or taste?
No.
No, you can't. But can you experience your attitude?
Yes.
Okay, well, talk to me. How?
Or is it, I don't know if it's necessarily an experience in the way we're using experience, or
Well,
is it more just a state of being?
Well, now we're brought in being. Now you're ontology and other forms of metaphysics here. I don't want to complicate that.
Right.
Right. But right now, the word attitude, I'm going to push that a little bit. Does the word attitude for you now to refer, the meaning of the word attitude, whatever language it is, does it refer to something physical?
No.
No. Does it refer to something metaphysical?
Yes.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Does it?
Well, I'm going to introduce another simple word here.
Yeah, it depends on how we define these words, because different definition, I think.
Well,
from
there's that
different
individualism coming out again, yes.
Yeah, different definition, different theory, different models, so it depends on how we define
There
that.
are. I accept that and appreciate that, lady. But I went from the word physical to the word metaphysical to see what would happen here. I didn't go from the word physical to the word mental. I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
I'm going to preach the word mental here. I put it over here, metaphysical over here, right? I'm using my body. Now, is your attitude something physical? The answer is no.
No.
And hence, do you experience your attitude by seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting?
No.
The answer is no. Now then, asserting your ontology here a little bit, does your attitude exist?
Yes.
All right, does it exist physically?
No.
Okay, and I'm going to leave does it exist mentally?
Yes.
There we go. I just brought in a simple little word, mental. What's the word mental in Lithuanian?
Sąmoningas.
Mental. Well, the word, I brought that word in.
In some science, we also use the term mentalis, mental.
Well, the word mental.
Just we add a suffix, mentality.
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 Mentalis.
We use that.
Well, I understand that and appreciate that, and I delayed bringing the word mental in because, number one, I was waiting to see if you were willing to even bring the word in, and you didn't.
I did not.
Why not?
Because I never thought about it.
Okay, well, that's a good reason. And I'm going to give you the philosophical reason for not doing that, to entertain you with my thought here.
Okay.
Ready? See, science, as we just defined it, has already got a philosophical assumption underpinning it of ontology. What exists for science is and only is are physical things. Even the string, as well as the galaxies, as well as the physical or the atoms, right? The underlying assumption is, in science, is what we're focused on in science are physical things. And by how do we mean by a physical thing? We mean something existing that can be seen, heard, smelled, touched, or tasted with those five senses. Not only by me, but you, and any kind of experiment. Would you agree? All right. Well, now then, with that definition of knowledge, you see that if you just took that, then by reducing, what happens to mental things? If you just go science on that thing, the way I've decided science, are there any mental things that can be known?
Well, according to that definition, no.
The answer is no. Do you understand that though I'm asserting something here, that it's becoming universally accepted?
Yes.
You see that only physical things in science are things, we get the word science reduced to that, right? By reductionism, you just reduced all mental things out of existence, like attitude or feeling, mental feeling, not touching, but the mental feeling of love, affection, hate, anger, right? It's all been lost if you just do that. Do you want to do that?
Sure.
You want to reduce everything to physicalism?
No, I do not.
No, well, why not?
Because we miss half of our experience of being human.
Half of our experience. And the half of the experience we're talking about is your experience of your attitude or your mental feelings. True?
Yes.
Now, but your mental feelings that you claim to experience, I claim to experience, right? Do you experience that by seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting?
No.
No, you've got another, we humans, Aristotle, rational human, but forgetting that for a minute, we experience mental feelings, do we not? Huh?
Yes.
Okay, now, pardon me, how? If you can't see, hear, smell, touch, or taste, how in the hell do you experience mental feelings?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm going to offer an answer.
Okay.
Ready? Some of this is rhetorical. I already got answers I'm ready to bring out here. I'm just going to bring in another word. Emotions.
Yes.
Emotion as the experience of mental feelings. Anger, love, hate, etc. The word emotion, right? It refers to a human experience, does it not? I know myself. I've just chosen to keep the word emotion to name the experience. And anger, frustration, love, affection, those name the object. A mental object, a mental thing. So I've already done that word. All right, but emotion is a form of human experience. But see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, those five sensations, S-E-N-S-A-T, there's five sensations. Those are one form of human experience, a very good and carried out in science. But these emotions of mental things, those still is a human experience. And we ought not, a moral imperative, don't forget that, would you? I don't want to forget that, do you?
No.
I don't either. That's why I'm taking this time here, though we're not talking about education yet, we're talking about experience. Right, now then, if you run the positivist position, and the empiricist position, if you follow that out logically all the way, one of the things that were trying to be done by positivists and empiricists was to develop knowledge from experience. They were empiricists. But the word experience meant and only meant see, hear, smell, touch, and taste things. It didn't mean emotions. And I don't go through the psychology of this, you know, with Pavlov and Skinnerism and behavioralism, where only physical things that were supposed to be seen and studied scientifically, right? You're a psychologist, so you understand what I'm talking about, right? History of science, psychology. Well, the underlying assumption in all that was that you can't see, hear, smell, touch, or taste mental feelings, ergo, therefore, they're not worthy of being scientifically studied, or can't be. You get the idea there. Okay, well that's universal. You're here from the United States. I'm here. It's that notion of science is implicit, is inherent in everything as we do. Well, that's why I brought this up, because see, the word science, if you take the word science to refer to a kind of knowledge and then reduce all knowledge to so what you can see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, that experience, then you've lost emotions, huh? Is that, you're going like that? And I'm preaching to the choir maybe, but I'm going to bring in one more word, imagination as an experience. Well, is imagination the name of an experience of something physical or something mental?
Mental.
It is mental. The imagination or the image of that cup, or your granddaddy, right? Or even your home in Virginia, the mental picture you've got, you can't see, hear, smell, touch, or taste it, right? But do you experience that mental image?
Yes.
And the name of the experience you feel, it's just that's what imagination is. True?
Yes.
All right, well see, I'm just striking out here the very idea or thought about when we talk about experience. We got to talk about it philosophically anyway, in my position. We got to talk about the experiences of the sensations, body sensations, but we also got to talk about the experiences like imagination and emotions. Now we're starting to get closer to what education is, aren't we? I mean, engaging in the thinking process of human beings. You just can't limit it to your physical motions there. We ought not do that. Okay, well there's my oratory on that issue. So what do you think, lady? You're from, I can push you a little. You're a U.S. guy. What's happening here? Have I said anything that offends you?
No.
Is there anything that makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's enough for me. If I go drink beer, smoke cigarettes, and talk dirty the rest of the evening. Okay, so Madame Civil play. All right, so I'm bringing in the whole notion that my good friend earlier, by inherent in his talk, was that all knowledge comes from experience. That's the empiricist position. And of course, Aristotle didn't believe that. He believed that there was some knowledge we got not from experience, but just reason. I'm trying to modify,
The intellect.
Well, in the word intellect, but the word intellect, as it's being used there, is not huh?
It's more like an instrument.
Small like what?
I mean, intellect was treated as an instrument, but the reason it's...
The intellect is an instrument. Yeah. Well, in the mind, his whole notion of mind was that which does the intellecting.
Yeah.
And what is intellected is not something that you can see, hear, smell, touch, or taste. It was just, that's where mathematics really has its origins in all of history before Aristotle. It just in thinking out things, there's no physical number. There ain't no number out here, one, or just physical things that we count. All right. Well, so I'm just trying to do a little bit of work here from Dewey's pragmatism. The whole notion that all knowledge comes from experience, and even reason, intellect, is not something set off from experience, as Aristotle thought, and even Plato thought, and even Socrates thought, and the rationalists tend to think, and even phenomenologists tend to think, that the intellect of the mind is something that we experience. It's an experiential thing. Then there's, and we ought to bring that into when we want to talk about knowledge about anything. There's the value, the ethical thing. We ought not forget that, and let habit that gets formed, reducing those out of existence. Okay, so I've just been fussing around a little bit about knowledge from experience. That's my premise. The predicate here today is that there is knowledge about anything, education included, but especially education, we ought not forget this other knowledge we have from the mental, which we've done a little bit of analytical work with. And that's what educology, from my position, we can't forget, ought not forget. You see, educology, knowledge about education, if we just limit it to science, the way we defined it, and we cut off a whole bunch of knowledge about humans. Yeah, and we ought not do that. That's my moral imperative here. All right, so I'm done. I'm ready to say, talk to me, lady. Say something to me. Let me know.
We may conclude.
She's an American, so I can push her around.
We may share
I'm
some
not sure.
conclusion thoughts because
Yeah.
we're working on
Yeah.
an hour and a half. And it's,
Yes.
It's a good, nice, very
Yeah.
I mean, this has helped me understand the usage of the term educology some more.
Okay.
However, I will probably still wrestle with it
Sure.
for another 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, hey, let's you and I go out tonight, and I'll pay for the drinks and eats. Huh? Here, and put your arm up. And we'll wrestle. We'll arm up.
an actual experiential
I want
wrestling.
you to get with me. Okay, thank you for that kind of, anybody else say something to me and let me know, I'm just not a puff in the wind here. What do you think, lady?
Yeah, I like the discussion about the main thing, education and connection of attitudes and feelings. I don't know, senses, different imagination, and everything all together.
Sure.
Yeah, and it reminded me the quotation of Einstein about the logic can take you everywhere, but logic can take you from A to B, but imagination can get you everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even imagination can get you into the metaphysical.
Yeah.
We can imagine all kinds of gods and fairy tales and do that kind of thing, right?
We as a human being do not know many things, and that is why it's something those things that are very concrete, abstract for us, we don't know many things, like superpower, like I don't know many other things, like superpower, God. So we don't know everything.
Not everything. And science itself, as good as it is, that leads to wonderful technologies like that. Science is good and wonderful, right? But it itself is not all knowledge.
Simultaneously, I think that there is no insurance for our life. No insurance. We don't know what will happen next second, next minute. There is no insurance from our superpower.
There isn't, and of course he was making that point. We live in a life of uncertainty all the time. And that feeling of uncertainty, it's a mental feeling, is it not? And we just, that's an experience that we all live with daily. And we can't get away from that. Can we? I don't know how, unless I become dead. Yeah. Hi, lady.
I can say the example of my attitude.
Okay.
Because Andrew said to me, let's go to answer some questions.
Okay.
But I had the attitude that I will get something new. I will get some knowledge from this meeting.
Yeah.
And this is the example how my attitude come to the experience.
Yes.
So that's true because I was supposed to say my think about something about educology.
Yeah.
And but my attitude was I am there to know something new.
Your attitude was what now?
To be there and to get some new and to broaden my knowledge.
Yeah.
So that was my attitude.
It is, and the attitude is a mental thing, is it not?
Yeah.
It's not. I can't see your attitude. Can you see your own attitude? No. No, it's not. It ain't. You can't experience by sin. I use the word sinception. See, hear, smell, touch, or taste. Okay, well, I appreciate the time that it's taken, and I've got my good friend videotaping, and my good son here attending to this, and he and I will all be talking more. But we're ready to shut the camera off. But do you mind having been visually and auditorially recorded? No, or you don't mind it? You don't mind it. You just didn't want to be visually, but auditorily. And we worked that out.
Right, I accommodated you.
No, it's okay. I don't want to have a lot of burden on your shoulder. It's okay. Just if there is any, don't omit it. Let's be there. It's okay for me. I don't want you to do more work.
It's okay. I don't mind. I work for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're accommodating, and I can because he knows how to run that electronic device over there. All right, but now then, we're co-editors of a journal. And quick to bring this to conclusion, the International Journal of Educology is a journal that I and another guy started 10 or 15 years ago. And that other guy and I started it, then he wanted to stop it. He labored enough with it, and he used to publish it in paperback. So when he decided to stop working at publishing in paperback, the International Journal of Educology, I'm a good friend, so I said, okay, Jimbo, I'll take it back. He was in Australia, and I said, I'll just take it and come to the United States. And when I brought it to the idea of the publishing, I put it first in paperback, but then put it on CD, in compact disc. So I began to get articles and put it on a disc, and then sending the disc out to people. You send them to you, right? Then the idea came to me is that I'd like to get included in the CD version of the International Journal of Educology, the DVD, and that is to video things like this. So I did do that, and then did that for a while. And then I got courage enough to talk to my good friend Andreas. I'm 85 years old. See, I've got a few more years left, but I wanted to get that journal somewhere under the heading of this somebody else. I wanted to get it into where I call the cultural capital of educology. That's Lithuania. It's the cultural capital because it's entrenched in the language here in Lithuania, right, by a government mandate. Oh, nowhere in the world is that done. We'll never get it done in the United States or England or Germany because we won't mandate it. Anyway, so I mentioned that because I wanted to get the journal over here, and you were ready to do that. And now it does exist. He's an editor and I'm a co-editor. It does exist in cyberspace here, and you're working on it. I'm still working. But I mention all that because my plan is, Andreas, with your permission, you see, when I get all that done, then I want to send it, and we'll get it into the journal here in International Journal of Educology. So when that happens, and if you got the address for the International Journal of Educology, then you'll be able to see yourself in this conversation. Do you have any objection to that? Does that mean yes or no?
Yes. No objection.
Okay, do you have any objection?
Yeah.
And I don't, do you? Well, I bring that up because, see, we began to tackle some very philosophical problems here, and the problem of knowledge first, and about knowledge about education second. All right, so we just got into that. So if you had objections, we fix it so they were dead. No, that's my plan. Is that all right with you? All right? And it's doable, Mike. Yeah. Okay, well, that's where, when all this works, right, then you'd be able to see yourself, hear yourself in the International Journal of Educology as it comes out of Lithuania, the cultural capital of educology.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so happy.
In the immortal words of, what's the hip hopper that, thank you. Elvis Presley. The immortal words of Elvis Presley. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
my friend,
well,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here, maybe press flash with me. Yeah.
I think we all deserve lunch.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, you're invited. Compliments of ERA USA. Yeah.
If you have time.